After months of negotiations, in August 1444, the Peace of Szeged was signed between Sultan Murad II of the Ottoman Empire and King Vladislaus of Hungary, which included a 10-year truce and required the Ottomans to withdraw from Serbia and Albania. Before this treaty, the Battle of Torviol in 1444 saw Skanderbeg's victory against the Ottomans, boosting European morale and encouraging further crusades against the Ottomans and to break the treaty shortly after it was signed. However, the subsequent crusade of Varna ended disastrously for the Europeans in November 1444, leading to a period of uncertainty. In the aftermath, the Ottomans had removed a significant opposition to their expansion into Central and Eastern Europe. Subsequent battles forced a large number of Europeans like Serbia, Bosnia, and Wallachia to become Ottoman subjects. After Murad II's victory at Varna, he attempted to establish peace with Skanderbeg by sending a message to Skanderbeg in which he reminded him of how he had taken the Albanian as a son and raised him in his court, and tried to intimidate him by reminding him of the size and power of the Ottoman army. Skanderbeg responded by recalling his previous victory at Torviol and his faith in Jesus Christ. Following this exchange, Skanderbeg prepared his men for an Ottoman incursion. Upon receiving the message, the Sultan tasked Feroz Pasha with commanding a force of about 9,000 men to monitor Skanderbeg's movements and prevent him from advancing into Macedonia. In October 1445, Feroz departed from Skopje, aiming to quickly reach Crui and catch the Albanians off guard. Many soldiers, mistakenly believing they were going to face Hunyadi's regrouping army, advanced with fires. Under the assumption that the Albanian army had temporarily disbanded, Feroz planned a rapid movement through the Black Drine Valley and Prizren. However, Skanderbeg's scouts detected these maneuvers and moved to intercept Feroz. Castrioti positioned his 3,500-man personal guard, consisting of 2,000 cavalry and 1,500 infantry, in a valley near Prizren, while sending the rest of his troops home. The Albanian forces strategically entered the forest of Mokra. Familiar with the narrow valley's terrain, the Ottomans, upon entering the valley, found their main trails blocked and struggled to find an exit. The dense woods restricted the movement of the Ottoman cavalry, making them vulnerable to assaults by the Albanian infantry. Consequently, the Ottoman forces were routed, leaving 1,500 dead and 1,000 wounded or captured. Feroz Pasha perished in the battle. Following the Battle of Mokra, European morale was boosted after the defeat at Varna. Pope Eugene IV raised a hymn as a praise that Christendom has been provided with a new defender after he heard of the battle. Alfonso V of Aragon and the papacy sent praises to Skanderbeg and Durazzo. Papal ambassadors arrived in Cluj to announce the appointment of a new bishop, Peter Perlati. Skanderbeg sent 4 Ottoman standards that he had captured to Alfonso to prove his victories. Skanderbeg and Alfonso became close allies while also establishing connections with other European states. On September 27, 1446, as Sultan Murad II prepared to campaign against John Hunyadi, he dispatched 15,000 cavalry under Mustafa Pasha to Albania. Their strategy was to devastate the land and terrorize the population while avoiding direct confrontation. Mustafa split his forces, with one contingent engaging in combat and the other remaining fortified at Otonetë. Skanderbeg, upon learning of the split, attacked the fortified camp with 5,000 men, causing chaos and turning the camp into a slaughterhouse. The Ottomans suffered 5,000 casualties, and 300 were captured. This victory further solidified Skanderbeg's reputation and deterred further Ottoman incursions. After this defeat, Murad ordered Mustafa to defend the border and to not perform any actions which may cause another defeat. In 1447, after a relatively quiet year, a significant conflict erupted between League of Luzia and Venetian Empire over a dispute regarding the possession of the fortress of Dagnum. The Venetians took the position of this fortress after a member of the Ducagini family, a powerful family in northern Albania and League of Luzia member, ambushed and killed Lex Zaharia, Prince of Dagnum and also League member. Skanderbeg, moved against several Venetian-held towns along the Albanian coastline to pressure Venice into restoring Dagenham to Albania. In 1447, Skanderbeg began the siege of Dagenham with around 3,000 to 4,000 soldiers, successfully putting pressure on Venice. In response, Venice deployed a local force of approximately 6,000 soldiers to relieve the besieged fortress and urge the Ottoman Empire to send an expeditionary force into Albania. In May 1448, Sultan Murad and Prince Mehmed, with a massive army of 80,000 to 120,000 men, marched into Ohrid and Black Dream Valley, traveling near Sfetigrad. Skanderbeg urgently called for material aid from Christian states. The answer, however, was negative for Venice. Instead, the only aid received came from the Neapolitans and the Ragusans. In response, Skanderbeg strengthened the garrisons of Kruj, Stalushi, Sfetigrad, and Berat by ordering the populations around these fortresses to take up arms. Shortly before the Ottoman siege of Sfetigrad began, Skanderbeg and his 12,000-strong force, 4,000 cavalry and 8,000 other soldiers, positioned themselves 7 miles, 11 kilometers from the Turkish camp, keeping their presence secret by not lighting campfires. Moisi Galami and Muzaka of Angelina, with 30 horsemen disguised as peasants, attempted to enter the fortress but were attacked and driven off. An Ottoman pasha, recognizing Skanderbeg's plot, sent 4,000 horsemen to find him by following Moisi's band. Moisi led the Ottoman force into a valley where Skanderbeg ambushed and annihilated them on May 14, 1448, prompting Murad to order the siege to begin. In order to relieve the garrison of Sfetigrad, Skanderbeg persistently harassed the Ottoman army with surprise ambushes. On June 22nd, he led a night attack on the Ottoman camp, unsettling the soldiers. Later, when the Ottomans were napping, Skanderbeg sent again Moisi Galami with some men disguised as peasants to reconnoiter. That night, the Albanians launched an attack, but the noise prevented complete surprise. Despite initial confusion, the Ottoman troops organized and pushed the Albanians out, suffering heavy casualties. To prevent further attacks, Murad sent Firas Pasha with a contingent to watch the Albanians, but it was destroyed. Although the Ottomans made a breach in Sfetigrad's walls, the following infantry assault was repulsed from 2,000-strong garrison under the command of Peter Prelate. After more than 2 months, as the siege of Sfetigrad fighting had reached a stalemate and Murad contemplated his next move, on July 23, 1448, Skanderbeg crossed the Drine River with 9,000 men, meeting a Venetian force of 15,000 men under the command of Daniele Eurici, governor of Scutari. Despite being outnumbered, Skanderbeg's tactical brilliance and the resilience of his troops led to a significant victory at the gates of Shkodër. The Albanians managed to inflict 2,500 casualties on the Venetian force, capturing 1,000. Skanderbeg's army suffered 400 casualties. This victory demoralized the Venetian forces and boosted Albanian morale. However, in Sfetigrad, the Ottomans cut off the water supply and induced the garrison to surrender. Given the circumstance, Prelate promised a surrender if the garrison were allowed a safe passage through the Ottoman lines. Prince Mehmed suggested that the garrison should be promised safe passage and then massacred, but Murad rejected his son's proposal in fear that the rebellion would only be intensified through such an act. He decided to instead return the garrisoning force to Skanderbeg. Ottomans suffered 20,000 casualties during the siege of Sfetigrad. Sfetigrad was an important castle because now the Ottomans could cross into Albania uninhibited. Following the victory at Shkodër, Skanderbeg's forces clashed with the Ottoman Expeditionary Force at the Battle of Oranik on August 14, 1448. The Ottoman forces, numbering around 15,000 soldiers, faced Skanderbeg's 6,000 soldiers. Despite the overwhelming odds, Skanderbeg's strategic acumen and the determination of his troops led to another decisive victory over the Ottoman forces, killing 3,000 men, and many were taken prisoner, including Mustafa Pasha and 12 high officers. Skanderbeg learned from the captured Ottoman officers, and that it was the Venetians who pushed the Ottomans to invade Albania to break the siege of Dagenham. The Venetians, upon hearing of the defeat of the Ottomans at Oranik, urgently wished to establish peace. Mustafa Pasha was soon ransomed for 25,000 ducats to the Ottomans. During the war, the Venetian Senate offered a substantial reward for anyone who could kill Skanderbeg. This bounty was part of Venice's strategy to weaken Skanderbeg's influence and reclaim control over the disputed territories. With Durazzo, Scutari, and Dagenham on the point of surrender and seeing a victorious Albanian army after the Battle of Oranik, the Venetians sent Andrea Venier to open peace negotiations with the Albanians. The war concluded with a Venetian surrender disguised as truce between the League of Luggia and Venice, allowing Skanderbeg to focus his efforts on resisting the Ottoman Empire. The signatories agreed that Venice would retain control of Dagenham. In return, the Venetians relinquished control over certain territories on the Albanian side of the Drine River to the League of Luggia. Additionally, Skanderbeg would receive an annual pension of 1,400 ducats and an annual tax exemption for 200 horse loads of salt from Durazzo. Wary of Skanderbeg, Venice no longer openly challenged him. This conflict showcased Skanderbeg's military prowess and his ability to unite Albanian forces against the tide of two of the most formidable empires of his era, the Ottomans and the Venetians.